ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this very exciting day today, the 29th day of March 2023. And what's Brisbane got out for us today is a cloudy day. Well, that's right, it is cloudy with 25 degrees at the moment. Hey, today is a very important day when the Religious Vilification Act will be put to Parliament at the Queensland Parliament today. So the Queensland Coalition Committee, which has worked really hard to bring forward this, suggest these changes, will be tabled today in the Parliament. Will be there in the gallery to have a look and see how it passes. We will give you the full report tomorrow. And among with that is some of the symbols that would be banned as well, and the distinction between some religious symbols and hate symbols. So that was a education process for the media, for the government officials, and for public at large, because it's through no fault of theirs that sometimes common words or terms are used for the different symbols generally. So there we go. It's going to be a significant day in Queensland, especially for the multicultural community and for the Religious Vilification Amendment Act, which will be presented in Parliament today, and hopefully we'll bring to you all the updates by tomorrow. But right now, let's get on with the news. And today we have a very, very special segment where we will be talking to the exceptional guidance of Guru PT, who's meaning Guru Prasad Trivedi ji. And we will talk about some of the lessons that one of the disciples, Ankita Sharma, is running, and how we can learn from nature and others. That's towards the end of the program. But first of all, let's take a look at the social housing policy. And are we up to scratch? Where are we? Are there reforms that need to be done in that sector?
A day after celebrating a negotiated success on its key climate bill, the government's now attempting to land another election pledge.
The Housing Australia Future Fund is about making sure that we have that investment in social and affordable housing.
This is urgent. We need to get it done.
Labor's promising to build 30,000 social and affordable homes over the next 5 years, funded by earnings from a $10 billion Housing Australia Future Fund, capped at $500 million a year.
Last year, if this plan had been in place, there'd have been zero going to housing.
The Greens claiming future funds are unreliable because they're subject to the vagaries of the stock market.
It's a sick joke.
The minor party taking its criticism of the housing plan to Parliament's front lawn, chastising the Prime Minister for not accepting their demands for 10 times the funding and more help for renters.
How dare he refuse to negotiate in good faith, as the Greens have proven we can do.
Green support vital because the coalition has vowed to vote against the proposal.
Those opposite, like in everything else, just have a plan to say no.
The housing and homelessness sectors urging the Greens and Crossbench to take what's on offer.
The package of measures, we think, is a good start, and the start that needs to be made now.
While conceding more still needs to be done.
We shouldn't be capping spending on social housing given the scale of the crisis we've got.
A vote on the housing bill's not expected until after the May budget, but it's already clear the sector's needs are so great they can't be answered quickly or cheaply. The Greens again have the clinch vote, and as with climate, they'll have to decide whether to accept some progress or hold out and risk nothing being achieved. Andrew Probyn, ABC News.
Well, there you go. While on one hand the Greens are supporting Labor on that support, but not on this, but that will be dependent upon what is going to happen with this housing bill. Here's an in-depth look into that situation.
Pressure is mounting on both state and federal governments to take urgent action on housing affordability as rising rates and rents leave thousands on the brink. The federal government has been forced back to the negotiating table with the crossbench over its plans for social and affordable housing, which it had hoped to pass in this final sitting week before the budget.
It comes as Queensland plans to limit rent rises to just one a year and puts up more funds to help boost the supply of property. properties in that state. Lots going on. Let's bring in Matthew Doran at Parliament House. Matthew, good morning. So how is the federal government handling these apparently tense negotiations?
Michael, good morning. Well, at the moment, as we go to where it appears that the parties are at an impasse, that they have not been able to come to an agreement, and that the government may well pull this housing bill from the parliamentary agenda this week. The Housing Minister, Julie Collins, all but confirmed that in media appearances late yesterday. However, there is also chatter that negotiations stretched into the night and will continue as the sun comes up here in Canberra this morning. The Housing Australia Future Fund is one of the federal government's signature policies, a $10 billion fund from which up to $500 million will be spent each year to support the construction of 30,000 social and affordable homes over the next 5 years. The Greens and the Crossbench, they have concerns about this bill. It's not that they're against the idea of the bill. They think it is a worthy pursuit. They're just critical of the government's ambition here, saying that it is far too low. Indeed, the Greens argue that yearly spend should be increased from $500 million to $5 billion a year, going so far as to say that the target of 30,000 new homes is both laughable and insulting, considering the fact that there are hundreds of thousands of Australians right now experiencing some form of housing crisis. The independent senators in the chamber, Jackie Lambie, Tammy Tyrrell, David Pocock, they too have expressed their concerns about the government's lack of ambition here. However, they have not been as explicit in publicly putting forward a dollar figure that would get them over the line. So wait to see if those negotiations do move at all today. However, it does appear that the parties are coming from very different directions here. Getting legislation through Parliament is always a numbers game, and for this to succeed, the government will need the support of the Greens and at least 2 crossbenchers to get that legislation over the line. A win earlier this week on climate, not so much on housing. Michael?
So a win on climate, but not on housing, but everything goes hand in hand. So we'll see whether the Greens and Labor are going to work together, or was it a once-off deal on the climate one that they agreed upon. Well, right now, the newly appointed Premier of New South Wales, Chris Minns, is going to be visiting Menindee, the community, over those fish problem.
I want to see the emergency clean-up in Menindee, talk to the local community, understand what the impact on the commerce and business has been, and ensure that agriculture and the farming community can get back up on their feet. I've been out there many times in my previous jobs as a Shadow Minister for Water in far western New South Wales. We need to make sure that they're getting the help and support from emergency services. So it's a listening tour, but we need to make sure that those communities aren't forgotten.
Okay, now the election is still in doubt as to whether, as we mentioned, Labor can government in majority at the moment. Anthony Green is giving her only 45 seats and Labor's ahead and only 1 of the 5 seats still in doubt. Are you prepared to govern in minority with the 3 independents who've offered you supply and confidence?
We are. I mean, I don't know what the final seat count will be. Obviously, we remain hopeful in some of those remaining contests, but people of New South Wales elect the Parliament. We will deal with the MPs that they elect for the next Parliament. We're confident that we have confidence and supply from enough crossbenchers to start the process of being sworn in. And look, we've got the people in place to deliver for the people of New South Wales. I'm not saying it's not going to be a challenge, but whether it's a majority government or slightly a minority government, we're ready.
Okay, now those 3 independents have offered to guarantee supply, but they want to negotiate individually on legislation. They are all very much in favour of stronger gambling reforms. So if it came to it, is the new government prepared to go stronger on the cashless gaming front?
Well, it's important to note that the agreement that we were able to get from those 3 independents was not conditional on any legislation at all. So they generously gave the incoming government confidence and supply. I don't want to put words in their mouth, but the reasons they gave is because obviously we're the biggest party on the floor of the Legislative Assembly. We will bring our legislation to the floor of the New South Wales Parliament. We were elected with the mandate for a comprehensive plan in relation to gambling reform. We're not going to change that. Obviously, we need to negotiate in terms of legislation, but that was the case whether we had a majority in the LA or not, because the Legislative Council is clearly a place where minor parties, along with the 2 major parties, make up majorities.
I want to,
and of course, the majority is made up there by the minor parties and the other ones as well. So it will be interesting to see some delivering on those election promises. and whether it is going to be ruling in own right or ruling with a slight minority government. Time will tell. But right now, we know there's so much talk about all the things that go on social media, so many scams that go on. Who is responsible for those scams?
Kim Ellison's peaceful retirement is off to a rough start. A scam has left her feeling rattled.
It's really hard and nobody can afford to be ripped off.
Last year, when Kim was moving to Russell Island off Brisbane, she wanted to convert a shipping container into a tiny home. She found what appeared to be the Facebook page of a legitimate Australian freight company and paid $4,500 for a container. The problem was, the Facebook page was a fake.
People were losing $5,000, $10,000, even $20,000.
Melbourne business Magellan Logistics has since been inundated with people demanding to know where their shipping containers are.
There are a number of Facebook pages that look more or less similar, using a version of our brand name, Magellan Logistics, in various guises.
Mel Wraith made a police complaint and reported 6 suspect pages to Facebook.
It looks like they are all still active except one.
That changed yesterday. The suspected scam accounts were taken down after the ABC contacted Facebook's parent company, Meta. The company says it dedicates substantial resources to protecting against fake accounts. The government's under pressure to create a powerful new umpire to resolve disputes with digital platforms.
You know, they're dealing with multinational companies with billions of users, and the experience they've told us is they're hitting a brick wall.
And people like Kim Ellison are bearing the brunt.
It's a sad reminder, isn't it? Just how easily you can get ripped off.
With scams costing an estimated $4 billion last year, change can't come soon enough. Michael Atkin, ABC News.
So there you are, fake accounts, and if Facebook or any other platform provides that medium for people to be able to, carry that kind of fraudulent activities, who is responsible? Is there a duty of care for that platform to make sure that only credible things go on there? How do they monitor people? Do always get past and always get up to mischief, well, ladies and gentlemen, right now it's time to go to the interview for today, which is with Guru Prasant Trivedi. He's a young, fierce, fearless, sincere and hardworking, down-to-earth, and he's the teacher. So, closing barriers of age, gender, race, religion, beliefs and countries. He is that interview. And ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome to this very special segment of our Community Connect. And today we are going to be talking about someone who has done so much in their life. Still being very young, fierce, fearless, sincere and hardworking, down to earth and awe-inspiring. How is this to describe the teacher Ankita Sharma? Crossing barriers of age, gender, race, belief and countries. A well-known Vedic scholar and a young inspiration for the Indo-Western communities across the planet, with the students belonging to India, US, UK, UAE, Europe, Singapore, South Africa, Bangladesh, and now our own Australia. Under the exceptional guidance of Guru Prasant Trivedi ji, and whom we'll be talking to today, has lived in indigenous communities in the jungles of India for many years to understand and practice the law of nature, which is based on the absolute science, practicality, logic and harmony. And this is some of the topics which is very close to my heart as well. We were at a function the other day when I was talking to a gentleman, and the topic went into that, we should not be meddling with nature. But anyway, talking about all of those, we'll be looking at some in-depth analysis and questions. And with that, Guru Prasant Trivedi ji, welcome to the show.
Yes, it's nice to be here, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to share my thoughts on to Australian audience.
And thank you very much for that. Now, when we talk about Vedic, when we're looking at what it is, crossing across barriers of age, gender, race, religion, belief, and countries, your Vedic wisdom has benefited diverse communities across the world. What is really being Vedic? Now, I know many times people talk about, when they talk about Vedas as well, and some of the terms many times that are used, sometimes they are not always interpreted correctly as well. So you say Vedic is actually based on science and logic. Could you explain that, please?
Yes. So we can keep it very simple. When creation comes into being, creation of this universe, then Vedic is called Brahman. When this universe comes into being, there are certain set of rules and laws come into being as well, along with creation. So those set of rules and laws is Vedic. Simple as that. From the beginning of creation, from the moment creation comes into play, there are rules and laws, and like a summarization of those rules and laws, the basic blueprint of creation. We can call it the blueprint of creation. So obviously science and logic are part of that blueprint. Real science, I'm not talking about the science which is taught at school, but I'm talking about the real science and logic are part of that blueprint, and that's what Vedic is as a whole. Yes. In summary.
It's lovely. Thank you so much. And I'll try and keep my questions brief because I'd like to really, hear from you, and also our viewers and listeners would probably like to know more. And as you have mentioned about nature and the laws of nature, and, as I talk a lot about, these things, honestly, never thought about it, but cities' laws and countries' law, as we know, are different. So what are these natural laws and why are they so important, especially today in the modern era?
The thing is that man-made laws and human laws are made by people to somehow manage society, right? Like that is the point of that, right? But before the question of society even comes in, the question of the individual comes first. You have a human body first, right? Now, everyone knows that to maintain the human body, you have to do certain things, like on earth, like just to maintain the human body. Like now, human body is made up of the 5 elements, and there's a balance we need to do, like, how much we eat, how much we drink, when we eat, when we drink, when we sleep, when we do this, all of that, that human body is also made of nature, and it has its own rules and laws, which we as human beings have to follow in order to live a healthy life, right? So people can start understanding laws of nature using their own body first, okay? So just start applying it to your own body. And a lot of things in the modern world have affected the human body negatively. So people have seen that human body is creating a lot of problems. They're going through a lot of problems because of what is happening around, the quality of food and the different seeds and hybrid seeds and how it's affecting. So there is some violation of laws of nature which is happening, which is making human being more diseased and not being able to function properly. So I think the ideal place to start to understand laws of nature would be the human body or human beings.
And what a beautiful example, and the way you have explained that is so good. Well, moving on, so when we look at the laws of nature, and of course we have just discussed that, so how does one connect with nature? I know people go to beaches, people go trekking, there are many different things that people like to do, but I do feel that it is very, very important that people do connect with nature. So, if we aren't, actually connected, if not, how do we do it?
Okay. The thing is, when you mentioned trekking, that was a good thing, because funny thing is, trekking is not about connecting with nature, actually. It is hiking, what they call in the West. It's more about conquering. I did this much, I did 10 miles, or I did 20 miles, or I did 30 miles. It's more about domination or dominion, rather than the feeling of gratefulness for earth, that you're on this earth and it is feeding us and it is providing us a space to stand on. That gratitude, feeling of gratitude, which is more important. Right now everyone is wearing shoes all the time, even in a park, right? So they're not even touching the ground. And when you touch the ground with your feet, bare feet, and then having that feeling of gratitude towards Mother Earth, that this is a real mother, that sense connects you to nature. So that is the starting point of connecting to nature, like touching the ground bare feet every day and having this feeling of gratitude for Mother Earth and all the elements around us, the air, water, everything which is necessary for us to live and survive every day. So this feeling of gratitude is the basic beginning point of connecting with nature, actually. So that is the right thing to do as a human being, while you take everything from earth and have this life on the basis of earth and the 5 elements.
And once again, that connection with the 5 elements is also very, very important, and that connection with nature is very important. Now, this is a small session, but many times people wonder, how we are here, what we are, who we are, and where are we? So on your the channels, we have seen that you talk about some basic question on who we are, where we are from, yes, and what is the purpose. And we've had that the various teachers and gurus organizations teach various things. So, yes, as you know, our Indian Times, our motto or our slogan is, as God is one, we respect all religions. So how do we know simple answers to these questions which crosses many boundaries and many man-made boundaries?
Right. It's a more complicated question, but I will get into it anyways. Okay, so the thing is, the higher force, highest force, people call it God or whatever you want to call it, different beings call it different things. Just knowing that it exists is not enough, Let's say we know that and everybody keeps on saying that, but will that allow you to live your human life properly? Like, what will you do? You'll still have these 80, 90, 100 years to live on earth. And what are you going to do? Even if you believe in that highest force, that doesn't solve the situation here. There has to be more than that, right? So that's where the problem comes, is that these religions don't tell that what to do here exactly, and whatever they are telling, it's not telling that you have to be first grateful and respectful to earth. That's the very first teaching which should be there from the very beginning, the respect of earth and the elements, which is not taught at school, which is not taught by the religions. So the basic starting point is not correct, so that's where the problem is happening actually, and that's what we are seeing the results of, so that's why the Vedic is not called a religion, it's called a dharma, and the dharma in Sanskrit means something different from the word religion in English, right? So dharma is something which is more of your duty to do as a human being, and we are spirits, right? All of us are spirits which are having this human body. We are wearing this as a cloth, this human body. So as spirits which take up a human body, certain duties and responsibilities come with that. Okay, so telling people what those duties and responsibilities are is an important thing, and that's what real dharma should tell, what that is, and that's what should be taught. And unfortunately, our education system and religions have not taken care of that, and that's where we are in this mess currently, what we are in. And that's why I started some basic Vedic basics, and Ankita is teaching those in her classes as well. And Tina can give the links for her classes. So that's where it comes. Basically, we have to start with these very basics, which I call Vedic basics, so that we can live a life as a human being which is evolving, which evolves the spirit, not devolving, which doesn't devolve it. So that's the basic starting point, I would say.
And once again, you have touched on some beautiful points there, meaning that, Dharma does not quite translate into religion. Yeah, there are the differences and many such words, even karma, action or doing, and in the Western society normally it says karma will get you, meaning so it's taken in a slightly different manner, same as mantra, guru. Some of these words are not used in the true context.
Yes. The thing is that all the Sanskrit terms have changed their meaning in the current context, and their real context has been lost. And to get that back and to properly understand all of these terms is part of my work. Like, that's what I do, and that's what people can find on my channel and People Speaks and all of that. That's what and this is exactly the point, because we need to clarify these things so that people can use those terms better, and they'll enhance their lives by that, because having a misnomer about something is not going to be good for anyone. So, like, clarification, clarity on any term is always good. Even English words, I do a lot of things on English words and how what they mean is different from how people use them, or what the Oxford Dictionary tells them. So it's in every language, this situation. So yes.
It definitely is, so Guruji, you have traveled the world. You have been in many communities. You have connected with many communities as well, and we will have that link there to the channel where people can go and find out more and listen to some of those wonderful talks and connect with Ankita with the teachings and there. But today in this session, if there is one learning, one teaching that you would like to share with us, what would that be?
But that would be one word: discipline. Discipline and control. Like, no matter what anyone teaches you, what finally you'll have to apply. And the application requires discipline. So for each human being, the discipline is the biggest key word right now, because majority of people are lacking it, because of the education system. You can call it the fault of the education system, but finally it comes down to individual discipline, and it's an individual initiative each human being has to take. So discipline is a word which no one likes right now. It's reserved for like army or some other thing, but I think that's the most important core word which I would like that people should get friendly with that word, because even discipleship comes from discipline only. The word discipline is there in disciple, so there's no disciple without discipline. So I think discipline is the key core word, and it should start from early young age. So no matter where you are on earth, which community you belong to, where you are growing up, like, all children need discipline to start their human life from the very beginning. So you have that backbone, that spine, after which other things, more clarity can come to you about yourself and the universe and everything else. But it all starts from discipline.
So discipline in the word disciple comes from that. It is is very, very well explained. And I think in today's day and age, we definitely are missing that, the discipline. One has, there's a lot of political correctness and other things that have come into being. And today, there are certain things we can do, we can't do. If you look at, in our old traditional ways, the respect people had for teachers and elders, and when they were learning things, even music, the discipline that was there is not here.
Everything is discipline, and less discipline equals more laws. Less self-discipline equals more laws, more confusion, more complexity, and more nonsense on all levels. So we have to start at that individual level, and more self-discipline in everyone will lead to automatically organized society, and a society which is working for everyone's evolution. So that's the
And thank you very much for that. That is so true in today's day and age. In fact, because people today have a lot more flexibility of things out there, and without discipline, it's very easy to deviate. And even today, after COVID and everything, people are working from home. So, when you're working from home, remote, virtually connecting into an office, again, discipline comes in. And so that's it's a vast subject. So thank you very much for sharing that. Thank you so much for, joining with us on this channel, and wishing you all the best. And looking forward to some more talks down the track.
Yes, surely.
So, ladies and gentlemen, there we go. There was that exclusive interview with Guru Prasad Trivedi, and some very, very interesting topics there. And sometimes I think I talk a little bit too much when I'm on a topic and a subject that is of great interest to me. But once again, we will bring that interview once on its own on a separate time as well. Well, ladies and gentlemen, right now it's time to say goodbye from this segment. It's been wonderful having your company as usual. We'll see you all again tomorrow.